Okay, Mr. Chairman, you're good to go.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to call this Warren County Commission meeting to order. And first item is I will entertain a motion to approve this electronic meeting format.
Motion, Commissioner
Mr.
Stotts.
Hilton, so moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Stotts.
Second, Carl Bolden.
Second, Commissioner Hilton.
E. Bolden. Would anybody like to speak to that motion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, if you would, please join me as we pray. Lord, we just thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for the rain. We thank you for the trees that, Lord, are beginning to gain their color back. And God, just the things that you're bringing to us. This COVID disease is getting lower and lower. We just thank you, Lord, for helping us with that. Be with this commission as we meet tonight. Help us to do what is right by our citizens and help us to do our best to represent our districts well. And we just give you praise for allowing us to do this, allowing us to live in a free country. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yeah. Amen.
All right. At this time, I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
to the United
of the United
States
States of America,
and to the republic
from
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you. Call the roll, please, Lisa.
Michael Bell,
Here.
Carl D. Bolden,
Here.
Carl E. Bolden,
Here.
Carleen Brown,
Here.
David Dunlap,
Here.
Randy England,
Here.
Deborah Evans,
Here.
Here.
Stephen Helton,
Commissioner Hilton here.
Robert Hennessy,
Robert Hennessy, present.
Brad Hillis,
Here.
Ron Lee,
Here.
Gary Martin,
Here.
Daniel Owens,
Here.
Casey Owens,
Here.
Gary Prater,
Here.
Christy Ross,
Here.
Scott Rubley,
Here.
Tommy Savage,
Here.
Tyrone Spartman,
Here.
Joseph Stotts,
Here.
Philip Stout,
Here.
Cole Taylor,
Here.
Blaine Wiltshire.
Here.
24 present.
Thank you. Next item is the adoption of the docket.
Motion to accept, Commissioner Stotts.
We have a motion.
Second, Commissioner Hilton.
We have a motion from Commissioner Stotts, a second from Commissioner Hilton. Would anybody like to speak to that motion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item is our reading of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, Commissioner England makes a motion that we approve the minutes and dispense with the reading.
Commissioner Stotts, second.
We have a motion from Commissioner England to dispense of the reading and approve as written the minutes from last month's meeting, and a second from Commissioner Stotts. Anyone want to speak to that motion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is public comment. I don't know of any public comment. Executive Haley, is there any that you know of?
There is none that's been submitted to my office.
All right, thank you. Then that gets us to Executive Haley with the special recognition.
Yes, as we know, a couple of weeks ago, we had a record snowstorm. Most of the worst went around us, thank goodness, and other parts of the country got devastated and are still suffering under the inclement weather. But as always, our departments, our employees all pitched in, rolled up their hands, and did what needed to be done for the safety of our motorists and our residents. So tonight I would like to recognize our highway department, our TDOT employees, the City of McMinnville Public Works for all their efforts in keeping the roads clean and salted and plowed and cleared for public safety, but also our 911 emergency personnel, EMA, EMS, first responders, our fire and law enforcement. They too had a lot of calls that those 2 days, 3 days of the worst of the weather. And so I would love to give them a shout out and recognition as well for their efforts and tireless efforts way into the night for many of them. I would also like to recognize our men's Pioneer basketball team for their record year. Once again, from last year to this year, we like to recognize our young folks and our ball teams, and our Pioneers basketball team went further than they had in years. I would also like to give a shout out tonight as well, since we did talk about EMS, and most of you saw the email that I sent out, and I didn't know that when we sent out the docket when I could recognize them. But as you know, our Warren County Ambulance Service, EMS service, was recognized in a ceremony a couple of weeks ago, and we won the EMS of the year for the state of Tennessee, the Bob Thomas ALL Service Award. And so we would love to recognize also our EMS service and all that they do for the safety and protection of our residents. So those are my recognitions tonight.
Thank you, Executive Haley. Next item is elected officials, department reports, and Executive Haley, you're next with your executive report.
Well, once again, out of courtesy, I've submitted several pages of updates. Updates come in nearly every day, so we've got much more to report for next month. A lot of things that are happening right now across the community, but you have my report, and if there's any questions, you can contact my office or contact me if you need some answers, or would you like further information about any of the things that I reported on as updates?
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to accept the county executive's report.
Commissioner Prater would like to entertain that motion.
I believe Commissioner Stout came in first on that motion.
I'll second it then.
All right, second by Commissioner Prater. Anyone want to speak to that motion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, next item is the Finance Department report, Mr. Justin Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have my report. I'll take any questions this time. Be happy to answer any that I can.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Rubley.
We have a motion from.
Second, Daniel Owens.
We have a second from Commissioner Owens. Would anybody like to speak to that motion? And I do. I have one question. Justin, could you tell us what our debt service balance is right now?
As far as total outstanding debt, or just the fund balance and debt service?
The fund balance.
Give me just a second. I'll hop down there and grab that. We started the year around 9 million, and we're currently ahead about 700,000. So it would be 10.5 million looking at it right now. But remember that we have the majority of our principal payments come out in May.
Right.
So, but we are projected to end the year a little above where we started. I believe we're projected a $500,000 gain in debt service this year.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Brown.
I just wanted to make a comment. It's not regarding the vote of the approval of the report, but I recently visited the remodeled offices of the Finance Department, and I just really wanted to commend all the effort that went into making that change and moving those offices. I was very, very impressed with them. But most importantly, as you saw the pride that these employees have now and having the space to do their jobs and the offices, and it was like walking into a whole different group of employees. If there's ever been something that has been motivational to them, it was this move, and it was very much needed. And I know a lot of efforts went into it, and the different people and the sheriff's department assisting with it, and in the internal maintenance department. It's been a major undertaking. It's not quite finished yet, but Justin, this is a great thing that has happened in your department, and I appreciate the effort because it's not easy to move an entire department.
Yeah, no, it has been it's been a lot of work, but we're a lot happier. We got a lot more space, and like you said, there's a lot of work went into it from several people.
Yes, and thanks to all of those that have done this, because I truly see the
Right. I believe got cut off. Anybody else want to speak to the motion? All right, then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is the Warren County Airport Quarterly Report. And I believe that is Mr. John T. I'm not sure I know how to pronounce your name, sir. Is it Mr. Ball?
That's correct. It is Mr. Ball, Mr. Wiltshire, Robert Hennessy.
Thank you, Robert. Are you going to do the report?
I actually thought he was here with us, but you have his report and read over it, so I submit his report for approval.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Hennessy.
Second, Commissioner Stout.
We have a second from Commissioner Stout. Anyone want to speak to that motion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is our Codes Environmental Quarterly Report with Mr. Rich Thompson.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Savage.
I don't think Rich is online. I
Okay.
would like to make a motion to accept his report.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Savage.
Second, Commissioner Hennessy.
We have a second from Commissioner Hennessy. Would anybody like to speak to that motion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is our EMA quarterly report. Is Mr. Jim Cunningham with us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, you have my report, and if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them at this time.
Motion to accept.
We have a motion from Commissioner Stotts to accept the report.
Second, Commissioner
We have a second from Commissioner Carl E. Bolden. Anyone want to speak to that motion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item is our EMS quarterly report. Mr. Preston Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You all should have a copy of our quarterly report. Any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Commissioner England, move to adopt.
We have a motion from Commissioner England.
Second, Commissioner Helton.
We have a second from Commissioner Helton. Would anybody like to speak to that motion? All right, if not, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner England. I'd
Yes.
like to emphasize what Executive Haley said. You know, our ambulance service, since we've got Preston online here, what a great job they've done for Warren County, and we're so proud of them. I just want to continue saying that.
We're going to have to be quiet. Thank you. All right, motion carried. So next item is our Industrial Development Board quarterly report. Mr. Don Alexander.
Thank you, Commissioner Wiltshire and members of the board. You have a copy copy of my report. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you might have.
Motion to approve,
Michael Bell.
We have a
Second,
motion
Mr. Stout.
from Commissioner Bell, a second from Commissioner Stout. Will anybody like to speak to that motion?
Chairman Wiltshire, may I speak to that motion, please?
Yes, Commissioner Hennessy.
Mr. Alexander, there was one item down here that I was interested in. It was item number 9, where it said you met with the park superintendent to discuss progress of the Rock Island Old Mill. Could you elaborate on that just a little bit and give us some feedback from that visit?
Yes, we're in the process of receiving the report from the company that is doing the analysis for us, and should be able to have a meeting with everyone to find out the results of that very soon. There are just a few items that they're working on to finish it up, and we will be announcing a meeting for this project very, very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Hennessy. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Would anybody else like to speak to the report? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next is our TSU Extension Warren County Commission report, and I believe Ms. Hilda Lotto is here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a copy of our report. I would like to just point one thing out. Shay Davis moved or transferred to the Rutherford County Extension Office to do family and consumer science work. So we do have a vacancy in our office, but hope to hire another 4-H agent later this year. Otherwise, you have my report, and I'll be glad to try to answer any questions.
Move to adopt, Commissioner Prater.
Second, Commissioner Hamilton.
Carl E. Bolden.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Prater, a second from Commissioner Hilton. Anyone want to speak to that motion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next, we'll go into our committee reports, and the first item is Budget Finance, Commissioner Rubley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a couple of things. I need to remind all the department heads that we are nearing the budget process. The review process is just right around the corner. We plan to get started very shortly, and we do need to ask all the department heads to have their budget requests submitted to the finance director so we can move ahead on that. And one more thing, I spoke to School Director Swallows, and he gave me the good news that all of the capital projects that he had proposed for the CARES Act money, everything that he had proposed, they approved, which looks like it's going to be in the sum of about $8.3 million, and that should make all the county commission very happy, because that's money that would eventually have been coming out of the general fund for capital projects. But they're going to have to move on that pretty swiftly, but got the word that has been approved. So, and that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rubley. Next, Building and Grounds, Carl E. Bolden, Commissioner Carl E. Bolden.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, Building and Grounds has nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Economic and Agricultural Development, Carl D. Bolden, Commissioner Carl D. Bolden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing that I have is the next meeting will be held in April, and hopefully we'll be at the airport, but you will be notified of it. Other than that, we have nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Education Committee, Commissioner Carleen Brown.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to tell you that I have asked Director of Schools Grant Swallows tonight to give you an update on the $8.3 million capital spending stimulus package, but also to kind of make sure that you're informed about his plan for the anticipated BEP funding shortfall for budget year 21-22. Just a few comments that he's prepared to make on those subjects tonight. And if you would, Mr. Swallows, would you go ahead and address the commission on those items?
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Thank you, Commissioner Rubley, also for updating the county commission on where we are with our federal projects. And so I've said this several times in a couple different ways. As fortunate as we are to have this federal money, it is one-time money, and we are going to use it strategically to try to take care of some things that will help us in the future. As Commissioner Rubley said, we're going to try to take on some building projects to update our buildings, to get them in good shape, and also to update HVAC systems and windows and roofs and things that would normally have to come out or be come out of a bond or come out of the county budget. So we're going to try to be strategic with that. With that being said, we've talked about this before. The concern, as Commissioner Brown said, is that we are about 200 students less this year than we were last year at this time. And as you all know, the state funds us through the BEP formula based on students' enrollment and their average daily membership. And so we have begun working on a plan to address that. And we have said many times that we have asked our state legislatures, state legislators and the General Assembly to move on a hold harmless bill, and that's still being discussed. But at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to sit around and wait on them to make their decision on that. And so we are trying to make sure that we're ready in case of a budget shortfall. So we are not going to lay people off. I cannot pay salaries. We cannot pay salaries out of this one-time federal money. So we are going to try to address this by attrition, which basically means if someone retires or leaves the district, we're going to be very, very smart about replacing that position, and only replace those positions that must be replaced by enrollment figures and the like. So we are working on that. I do want the county commission to know that we are working to make sure that we don't ask for more money. We are going to try to do this strategically through our federal money, and make sure that we're doing the best for the taxpayers of this county, as well as provide all that we need to provide to continue the good work that's going on in our school system. So I know there's been a lot of talk about that. There's an article in the paper about it. But I do want you to be aware that we are working diligently to make sure that we are prepared for the future. And we are going to actually offer a few new positions in our district. But that's also strategic because we are able to fund those positions through this federal money, and hope to be able to get to the other side of this shortfall. We anticipate our enrollment going back up next year, hopefully to where it was 2 years ago. And if we're able to do that, then we can be smart about how we rehire. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to update everyone. Be happy to answer any questions. Always available to you all to discuss anything that's going on in the school system.
Thank you, Mr. Swallows.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rubley.
Yes, Commissioner Rubley.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to apologize to Director Swallows. I got on the meeting very late, and I did not realize that he was on, and I had no intention of stepping on his toes on that issue. He could explain it much better than me, and I just want to apologize for that.
Thank you. I'm sure he understands.
I have a question, Commissioner Prater.
Yes, Commissioner Prater.
Okay, on the $900 and something thousand that we borrowed to do the ESG system with upgrading of all the HVAC systems and stuff like that we're still paying on, can that be paid off through this federal money?
That's a great question, Commissioner Prater. One thing that we can look into, we could ask for reimbursement on that. But as you would know, there are several restrictions around this federal money coming. But I will tell you, we'll look into that and see if we could relieve that debt.
Yes, thank you. But you have all of that in your plans to do, and we're still paying a company that, that's doing it now. And
correct.
So, I mean, so we're going to be, what it's looking like is we're going to be doing it twice.
When I say we're going to replace HVAC systems, it would only be those that were not affected through the bond. And then we're also hopefully going to be able to add additional parts to those, such as the bipolar ionization units that are able to help purify the air that are going through those systems. But I will tell you, if we can pay ourselves back with this, or not pay ourselves back, but pay off this debt with that, we certainly would be interested in doing that.
I think it really needs to be looked into because looks to me like, we've already borrowed this money and we're already paying this company, but yet you're going out of this $8.3 million, you're going to do the same thing that we've paid them once to do. And I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention too.
All right,
That's
thank you.
it. Thank you.
All right, next is Financial Management, Executive Haley.
Yes, financial management really doesn't have anything to report at this time. We'll be scheduling our next meetings to address the financial issues that we have to approve and to approve the surplus as well. But at this point, we do not have a meeting scheduled.
Thank you. Next, Health and Welfare. And one thing I would say is most of you probably have got some information on the tethering ordinance that a citizen has brought to the Health and Welfare Committee just for review. And that is exactly what we've sent it to you for your review. And then probably in the next months ahead, we will look at it more closely in our Health and Welfare Committee, and we welcome your comments. Next is Highway and Bridge, Commissioner Gary Prater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We recently got our new track hole in. It come in on a state bid. We saved about 33% of the actual cost. We got it for $180,000, which we had a part of that money through the last surplus sale that we sold. So, and we've got all of our bush hogging equipment and everything serviced up. We're going to start bush hogging probably next month. And that's about all I've got right now. Thank you. And I appreciate Executive Haley for bringing that to everybody's attention about how TDOT and the Highway Department and the city and everybody work to keep everybody safe during the bad storm. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Legislative Committee, Commissioner Carleen Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mrs. Lisa Scott is going to be soon updating our amended rules and procedures document, and at this time we have no other report.
Thank you. Next is Policy and Personnel, Commissioner Tommy Savage.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, Policy and Personnel has nothing to report.
Thank you. Next is Safety Committee, Commissioner Ron Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, I would like to congratulate our EMS for being the #1 service in the state. I'd like to congratulate Preston and all the young men and women that work for our EMS. They do a great job. But I also want to thank our Safety Committee and the support of the full commission to help us with the safety, with the EMS, to get them the good tools it takes to do a good job. I think we should all pat ourselves on the back for what we've done. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next, County Corrections Partnership, Commissioner Stotts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. County Corrections Partnership has nothing to report this time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And last but not least, Redistricting Committee, Commissioner Randy England.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have nothing to report this time.
Thank you. That finishes. We don't have any old business, so we'll go into our new business. The first item is reappointment of judicial commissioners.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Savage.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for the 7 judicial commissioners that are listed to be reappointed for another 1-year term.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Savage, and we have a second from Commissioner Hillis to reappoint Kevin Deason, Lady Martin, Walter McLaren Jr., Ken Mullican, Mike Neal, Susan Newby, and David Williams as judicial commissioners. Would anybody like to speak to that motion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item is approval of notaries. Ms. Lisa Scott.
This is list for the notaries. J. Caleb Graves, Chris Page, Donna Farr, Stephanie Keith, Yvonne Roberts, Kimberly Brady, Rita A. Glenn, Phaedra E. Amy J. Hodges, Dorothy Sullivan, Don Griffith, Sandra E. Steakley, Chris Bonemaker, Mindy Jaco, William R. Cross Jr., Drew Wilson, and Wanda A. Newby.
Motion to approve, Mr. Commissioner Bell.
We have a motion from Commissioner Bell.
Second, Commissioner Helton.
We have a second from Commissioner Helton. Anyone want to speak to that motion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Next item is our special presentation from the nonprofit organizations. We have, I believe, around 12 nonprofit organizations that are represented tonight. And this is not the only time that you will be able to hear about these groups, because they will be available when the nonprofit review committee meets later on this year when we get closer to time to designate our funds. But I thought it would be a good idea, and a number of commissioners have suggested that we have them at least come forward, and for everybody to have an opportunity to hear basically what their group is about, what they're asking for, and what they will do with the funds that we will be able to provide with them. And what I would like to do in this circumstance here, normally it's not appropriate for a commissioner to address anyone directly during discussion time. It should always go through the chairman. But on this, what I would do is, with Commissioner Stott's help, I want to give each of these organizations 4 minutes to tell us a little bit about their organization, as I mentioned, and then I want to field a couple of questions, if there are any questions from commissioners, and I will allow those questions to go straight to the person that is representing that group. So the first group that is up is the American Red Cross, and I believe Ms. Tara Stone is representing them.
I am, thank you. I appreciate you having us here tonight. My name is Tara Stone. I'm Executive Director for the Heart of Tennessee chapter of the American Red Cross. And our organization is requesting funding to support our disaster response program. Our disaster response includes home fires, storm damage, flooding, not just large scale disasters. When we're notified by your first responders, we will also respond to the emergency and provide client assistance. We do provide direct financial client assistance. That money can be used for a place to stay, clothing, food, any immediate needs. We also help them with any medical needs. If they have prescriptions that may have been lost in a home fire or flooding, we'll help them get those replaced. Also, any medical equipment, glasses, anything that they might need to get replaced right away. We also provide disaster mental health services, spiritual care, and a recovery plan to make sure that after the disaster they've experienced, that they can get back on their feet and walk them through that process. In fiscal year 20, we provided $8,664 in direct client assistance that went to 37 individuals and 16 families. So far in the current fiscal year, we provided $5,455.96 in direct client assistance. And again, this is money that does go directly to the people in your community that have just experienced some kind of home fire or other disaster. If your fire departments are calling us, we are responding to them. So we do help anyone and everyone, even if they have home insurance. We can still assist them replacing medical needs and give them money for a place to stay they may not have gotten out with, debit cards, wallet, things of that nature. And especially right now, might not be able to go and stay with somebody that they might have before COVID. We also provide sheltering anytime there's a larger scale disaster. We did recently provide some shelters in communities that had a lot of power outages for the snow and ice storms. Gives people a place to go and get a meal, to shower. They can charge their phones, warm up and spend the night if they want, or just somewhere that they can, come for a while and then go back if they don't want to leave their homes unattended. Just wanted to let you know that the funding that you do provide is going back into your community, directly into the hands of your residents to assist them in their time of need. And our mission is carried out by donations from our generous donors like yourselves. We are not federally funded. We do work from donations from our donors. I thank you for your time and having me tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. Is there any questions for Ms. Stone? All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dunlap, I have a question for Ms. Stone?
Yes, Commissioner Dunlap, go ahead.
Ms. Stone, we contact you for assistance in Warren County, and are you located here, or where are you located?
Our chapter office is located in Murfreesboro. We cover 10 counties through the Heart of Tennessee chapter. We do have volunteers in each of our counties. We have a total of 225 volunteers that help us respond to local disasters and other needs that come up through our lines of service.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mr. Savage.
Okay, I got kicked off and come in late. Is this the Red Cross? I'm taking notes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
This is
okay. Thank you. That's all I need to know.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Ms. Stone.
Thank you.
All right. Next is the Black History Museum with Mr. Wayne Wolford.
Well, I call myself being on here. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
okay, there we go. Okay, all right. Yes, I appreciate you. I appreciate being here today, and I want to make this kind of short and sweet. One of the main things is we are a nonprofit organization, and we have been blessed this year for us people bringing in artifacts and so forth. I would love for you, each and every one of you, to come at one time or another, if not just to visit me, if not to visit the museum, and get a feeling of one of the new prospects here in this area. This is a tourist attraction too. One of my main things is I'm a kid person. I like kids. I did substitute teaching, and I want to educate the teachers. I want to educate the children. And this is one of the main things I'm looking for is culture and so forth. Okay, first of all, you've asked me the purpose, and this was the purpose that I'm looking at right now, and hopefully to actually grow in surrounding counties and people from out of town. With that, when we had a grand opening, we've had people who come from Indiana, and we've had people who come from Illinois. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reach out and touch as many lives and people and educate as much as possible. What we asked for last year, we had just basically started, and we didn't really have anything basically to grow on. As far as electricity, we are requesting money for education. First of all, do you want me to mention the amount?
That's not necessary, I don't think.
Okay, all right. Well, basically what we're doing right now, the church are the people that we're leasing from, and they actually helped us out. So they kept our rent the same this year. And so we would like for you all to help us on the rent. We also, on the electricity, which we didn't have a correct balance for the whole year, we'd like for you to help us out with that. And to ensure this artifacts that's in here, we have to have this done for us, just not only the artifacts, but the people that come in. And we don't have to insure the building because the church insures the building. But if we can get support like this, we would really appreciate it. This is going to be a tourist attraction. This is going to be here. It's not going anywhere. And I would appreciate and love to see each and every one of you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Wolford. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you.
All right.
Next is our Caring Hearts United, Alma Shoemaker.
Yes, sir. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity and for your assistance that you've given us in the past. We are Caring Hearts United, nonprofit 503c, and we have been formed now for going on 11 years. Our purpose is to assist hospice patients through hospice units. We present at present time, we are hospice units, and our main goal is to bring smiles to those who do not have a lot to smile about. For our 21-22 year, the amount of the fundings, the request that we're going to give you is based on the fact that over the past few years that you guys have been funding and helping us and assistance. We have about double in that we are assisting. So therefore, our funding is needing to expand a little, and we would like to request at least $2,000 more. If you've got some extra, you can throw in there for us. We will definitely use our fundings that we get through the appropriations that you guys help us with, are used strictly to supply the needs of what we have to. A hospice nurse will call us, let us know if there's a need for the patient. For example, sometimes these patients are put on strictly insure. Cases of insure are very expensive. Their funds may be running low. They may not have insurance. Sometimes insurance doesn't even cover some of the items that they need when they come home to go into hospice or go to a hospice unit. So we have means that we can purchase cases of insure, and we can get those to them. Hospital bed sheets are not cheap. When a patient comes to the house, most of the time they have to have a hospital bed. Regular sheets do not fit. So we try to help if there's a need to supply those. We do food cards. Sometimes the families are gathering. They have nothing on their mind except wanting to be with that loved one as much as they can. You know, cooking is not one of their things to think about. So we try to give them some food cards to help along with some of the meals. And the best part that brings the smiles to the hospice patient, the part that we do is 5 holidays out of the year, we do supply little packets. It's Valentine's Day, Easter, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. We supply these packets that are sent out to the hospice patients through the hospice nurses. We always put something in there they can use, something they can munch on, something that can occupy their time, and something just to make them smile. Sometimes we put inspirational cards, books, thoughts in there. So it's something that they enjoy getting. We get replies back that you just wouldn't believe how they say, "Thank you so much for brightening our day." And when we get that reply back, we know that we've brought that smile that we hoped we would bring. That's about all I can say. I will share with you that on Christmas, we had approximately 562 packets that went out. Valentine's Day, we had 516. We are actually getting ready to prepare our packets for tomorrow. We don't have a head count yet, but we will try and get one tomorrow so we can get these prepared and get them to them on time for Easter.
All right.
That's about all I have. So if you have any questions, let me just go ahead and ask me.
Thank you, Ms. Shoemaker. Does anybody have any questions for Emma?
Yeah, Commissioner Prater has a question.
Yes, Commissioner Prater.
Okay, there's an organization down here in Manchester that is similar to hers. It's not called the same, but they go around to restaurants because I do gift cards for them to give to families and stuff like that. Like she said, they don't need to be worried about food or cooking or anything. So maybe this would be something that they could maybe go around to the restaurants in town and, just about anybody that I could think of at Matt Melville that is privately owned, ma and pa, not the chains, because they probably won't do it, but she ought to try to ask some of the places that's individually owned in Warren County, and maybe they would be glad to give a gift card, for some food and stuff. I just thought I'd bring that in,
Thank you.
Thank you for that idea. That's really good. We have connected with some in the past, and we'll just keep that in mind. And this is Miss Sneed, Miss Shoemaker sitting on the side over here.
Okay, I'm sorry, Miss Sneed.
That's all right.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Miss Sneed?
She's not a
All right. Thank you, Miss Sneed and Miss Shoemaker. Next is our Chamber of Commerce with Don Vizzi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
My name is Don Vizzi, and I'm the President and CEO of the McMinnville Warren County Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank the County Commissioners for giving me the opportunity to present our request for appropriation considerations for the fiscal year. The purpose of the McMinnville Warren County Chamber of Commerce is to advance the economic, commercial, industrial, professional, agricultural, civic, tourism, and cultural welfare of the city of McMinnville, Warren County, and the state of Tennessee through promotions of the free enterprise system, to encourage the growth and to protect the interests of existing industries and businesses while giving assistance to any new firms or individuals seeking to relocate in the city, county, or state, and in general to promote the welfare of all area members and citizens following the policies intended to accomplish the greatest good for the city, county, and state. We are requesting $30,000. That's the same amount that we requested last year. The Chamber is a membership organization and rely on local government funding for programs that do not inherently generate revenue, but that invest in the economic development and quality of life. We rely on funding to support tourism and the Welcoming Center operations. The Chamber is the first place a visitor comes for relocation information, things to see in Warren County, or just basic information about the community. The Chamber Leadership McMinnville is a personal development program designed to motivate participants to develop and enhance leadership skills by addressing pertinent community issues. The goal of each day is to open the minds of each participant, enable them to become more visionary leaders in our community. Leadership McMinnville enhances the workforce in Warren County and will positively impact the quality of life for citizens, employers, and community leaders. A similar leadership program is geared to the youth in the community. The leadership program is over a decade old, and the expenses have increased greatly for this program. The Chamber helps management the Citizens for Progress program for student scholarships. Through the Chamber network of business resources, we keep the business community informed about city, county, and state policies, providing them with contact information about COVID-19 resources. We also provide information for small business startups and coordinate with the IDB on giving information to industrial clients wanting to relocate in Warren County, sending out relocation packages and information about the county. Chamber resources are used in support the economic development of the community. We have restarted the Small Business Survival Training Program. This is a business assistance program developed by the Chamber to offset the impact to local businesses because of the economic deterrent. We will be working with the Small Business Development Center to help manage this program. The Chamber staff, board members, and leadership McMinnville will be providing support for the river cleanup in April. We thank you for the consideration of our request.
Thank you, Mr. Vizzi. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I do. This is Commissioner Prager.
Yes, sir.
Your name is Mr. Beasley?
No, it's VZ. It's spelled Victor India Zulu India.
Okay.
And if you just
Okay.
pronounce the V and the Z, you'll say it right. VZ.
Okay, Mr. VZ. I own a business in Marshall, Prater's Barbecue, and the last several years, the chamber, I dropped my membership because the chamber seems to relate more around the city of McMinnville, and they seem not to be worried about the little mom and pop businesses in the rural areas. And so I need to ask you, are you planning on doing more help for the rural areas, or do you want to do like everybody else that's been president of the chamber and just surround yourself around the city? That's all I got to say.
Sir, I'll answer that question because that question has been posed to me before when I first came in. As I think all of you know, I've been here maybe 3 weeks, and one of my jobs was to go around and visit with different businesses and board of directors and to find out what the chamber needs to do better. And I've heard that comment before, and yes, we are going to do better. We're reaching out to the businesses that basically have not had any support from the chamber. And yes, we are going to do that. How we're going to do that is just going out and finding more reason for chamber members to be a member of the chamber, to give them more benefits. And we're looking into that. And I appreciate that comment because I've heard it, and we need to fix that.
Well, are you actually working on that?
Yes, we're looking at different programs that.
Have you been to any of the business out there in Marshall? Have you been to Medley's Diner? Have you been to Prater's Barbecue?
No, I have not.
You have not. Yeah. Well, I tell you, one day when you plan on coming, if you'll call me, I'd be glad to meet you there, and we might talk
really
about joining the
That's
chamber again.
kind of stuff I need to know, and I would be very happy to do that, sir, because I think we need to expand what we do for the outlying communities and not just downtown McMinnville.
Yeah, a while ago you said you were Warren County and McMinnville, but for the last several, years, it's always been about the city. It hasn't been about the rural areas at all. And I just wanted to tell you that, I should have made that out clear a long time ago. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Is there any other questions for Mr. Vizzi? All right. Thank you, Mr. Vizzi. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Next is Chair Mental Health, Brian Harriman.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Brian Harriman, Director out here at Chair Mental Health Center, representing Chair Mental Health Association. Chair has been serving this community for 50 years. Soon will be 51 in April. The community has always supported the mission held by Chair. Individuals and agencies and government have always lent a hand when we needed a hand. And I'm here tonight to ask for your continued support. The mission of the Chair Mental Health Association has been to educate the community, to support both those receiving services and those working within the system to give services to our clients. Tonight, I wanted to just discuss those receiving services. First, I need to thank you for the full allocation of the 2021 request. It's helped many in a year unlike any other year. In the last year, as you can imagine, we've seen a huge increase in the number of individuals calling for first-time appointments or returning for appointments that realized there was a need. Many in our communities have lost jobs this past year. The toll on the ongoing illness is heavy. And for many of us in our community are mourning the loss of our friends and loved ones. Any funds received from this year's request will be used to remove barriers for indigent clients, both beginning new services with us and continuing service with us. Barriers can be things such as cost of medications or co-pays for medications for either new clients coming into our system or current clients who are struggling. If we can remove that barrier, it's easy for the person to engage in services and continue to stay in services. Sometimes the cost of services for those with outstanding balances might prevent them from picking up the call and making that first phone call. A balance could keep them from engaging in the services, so we might help with the cost of those outstanding balances. Finally, food and cleaning supplies, which we all recognize basic needs, can also be a barrier if you're struggling financially, wishing to get into services. Out here at our center, we have an emergency food pantry where we stock, and individuals can get a couple of days worth of food, canned food, and the goal is to remove any barrier that that person might prevent them from asking for help and getting the help they need. These funds will remove those barriers and allow those people to engage in services. As stated earlier, we're very, very grateful for the Commission's support over the last years, and we thank you for considering our request again in this fiscal year 21-22.
Thank you, Mr. Harriman.
Thank
Does
you.
anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to say this is Commissioner Prater. Brian, you do a good job out there, and I will continue to support you.
Thank you, Mr. Prater.
Anyone else? All right. Next is Habitat for Humanity, Mr. Todd Herzog.
Yes, thank you. I'm here this evening with our administrative assistant, Annie Moffett. Habitat, believe it or not, has been around for 23 years. We started building homes in the fall of '98. In May 1st, we're going to start our 34th home. So we've got 33 homes in our population within the county. And that, by the way, represents about $3 million worth of resale or retail value in homes that we built. And interesting to note, the value added benefit of Habitat is because we use volunteer quote unquote free labor, over $1 million of that $3 million is labor that is donated by people around people that you walk by every day in all kinds of positions. We are self-funded. We have to seek our own funding. The existing homes that we have built generate over $20,000 in tax benefit to the county in city each year. So that's made a big difference. There's over 100 children involved in these families. And best part, it's very gratifying to see children that have never had their own bed, never had a backyard to play in, never had a home. These are all pretty life-changing events for families to get our homes. While we build one home at a time or two homes sometimes, we involve 35 to 40 volunteer groups on each home to build. So we're very much in the people business. We do a dedication ceremony with clergy at the end of the build cycle, and typically we have 6 or 7 clergy members from different churches helping. The volunteers that help us include several groups from the high school. In fact, May 1st, our opening day on this next home, the Warren County High School football team and coaching staff will be our main volunteer group to help move all the lumber that has to happen on framing day. But we have junior ROTC, several sports teams, academic groups. We also have obviously many churches that help us. We also have local plants that help us in commercial businesses, like the hospital is a every year volunteer group effort. Ben Lomond Connect helps us every year. We also have volunteer groups like Young Professionals. So it's a people business that we're in, and it affects an awful lot of people over a period of time. We are self-funded. We work hard for the money we get. We depend on donations. We have a resource that our people work hard. Like we'll go out and retrieve donated items and refinish them and offer it for resale. And we would love to get Warren County as one of our major sponsors. So we're applying for your consideration this year.
Thank you, Mr. Herzog. Any questions? All right. If not, next is Families in Crisis, Ms. Christy Stubblefield.
I want to thank you all for having us here tonight and for the previous support in the years prior that you all have given us. Most of you all know that we're the domestic violence and sexual assault program that covers Warren County. This year will be our 30th year in existence. We offer a 24-hour emergency shelter for victims that are fleeing dangerous situations. We have the only 24-hour crisis line in the county. Many of our calls are coming from our law enforcement, our judicial commissioners, our hospital, and victims themselves just reaching out for assistance. They may need us to respond to a victim that needs some immediate assistance right there where they are, and they may just need some referrals. We have a program where our advocates will walk through the judicial process with victims. If you've never been in a courtroom before and then all of a sudden you're in there as a victim, it can be very overwhelming. You don't understand the lingo and the things that are going on. And so our court advocates act as a liaison between the court system, law enforcement, and the victims to kind of help them through that process and make it as easy as possible for them. We offer support groups to both victims of domestic violence and sexual violence as well. And we do most of the community education trainings for law enforcement, our school systems, and our children that are in school on topics such as teen dating violence and sexual assault. In the last 5 years, we have been so happy that we have been able to at least do a presentation with every incoming freshman at the high school. Last year, we were lucky enough to get all those done before COVID. And this year we are scheduled to be out there about 4 times coming up in the end of March. Through those programs, we talk about domestic violence, the signs of domestic violence, the cycle of violence, and sexual assault as well. What I want to focus on today, I feel like a lot of you all know who we are and kind of what we do, but I feel like we've always been known as county. And over the last 5 to 10 years, our program has grown dramatically to include many more services other than just our 24-hour shelter. I would love for you all to reach out and speak to law enforcement officers that you know, to your judicial commissioners, and to your judges, and ask them how big of a help Families in Crisis is in all of those areas. We have responded to over 300 orders of protections after hours with our judicial commissioners. This was a process that for forever could not be done through business hours until we made an agreement with our judges and judicial commissioners that through the assistance of Families in Crisis, someone can now get an order of protection 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Through COVID, we have never closed, we have never stopped. Our shelter has never closed down, and we have continued to provide those services. We have not had an empty bed in over 3 years. We had a little break in January this year where we had a 2-day period where I had a bed opening, and that's the only bed opening that we've had in about over 3 years. Last year, we provided shelter for 85 individuals. We provided 3,742 bed nights, and we provided services for 536 clients that were not in shelter. So that is your orders of protections, responding to the police department if there was an assault, responding to the hospital, things like that, and those people did not need shelter. And we answered over 4,742 crisis calls last year. One thing about our crisis line is you're always going to get one of our advocates. You're never going to get an automated system. You're always going to get somebody who lives in our community and can refer them to the right resources, or someone who could respond to the crisis right then. This year, we're on track. Those numbers doubled.
Chairman, I just wanted to point out that we've reached 4 minutes. Excuse me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Stotts. Ms. Duffield, if you wouldn't mind, we've reached our 4 minutes, and I would open it up for questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Savage.
I need Christie to go over the stats that she was given about the bed openings and the bed nights and those numbers. I'm just taking those down for the minutes.
Okay.
In the 18-19 year, we provided 1,738 bed nights. Last year, in the 1920 year, we provided 3,742 bed nights. In the 1819 year, we had 2,200 crisis calls. And in the 1920 year, we answered over 4,742 crisis calls.
All right, is there any other questions for Ms. Stubblefield?
You're welcome.
All right, we appreciate it, Christy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is Helping Hands Ministry, Miss Tammy Comfort.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Helping Hands Ministry is a nonprofit food ministry. We have been in operation since 2007, and the purpose of Helping Hands Ministry is to provide a place where people in need can go to get help. Thank goodness when the COVID virus hit in March of last year, we was established and we hit the ground running. Here we are a year later, and food insecurities are at their highest in our community that they've ever been. 1 in 5 now suffer from lack of food in our community. To help you understand what our organization does, I would like to tell you, explain to you what we do. We have a soup kitchen, and because we serve mostly the elderly, the CDC guidelines recommended that we close. And so we stopped our soup kitchen. However, we didn't stop serving. We started serving meals a different way. We ordered meals with 5 meals in each packet, and they come complete meals from WIC, and we distribute them to the elderly in the community. And we do about 300 meals a month right now. We also helped Hometown with our homeless. We made packages of care items and food for the homeless. We continued our monthly program, adding curbside pickup. We've given away 1,800 boxes of food, and each box weighs about 40 pounds, 40 plus pounds. The boxes contain fresh fruit, vegetables, bread, 10 pounds of frozen meat, and non-perishable foods. And with that 1,800 boxes, we've helped 3,000 people in our community with this monthly giveaway. By May of 2021, we will have had 8 mobile giveaways. And a mobile giveaway is a mobile pantry, is where a truckload of food comes and we give it away to the public in the same day. In doing so, we have given away 1,600 families a box of food that weighs about 75 pounds each. Our next mobile is March the 27th, and it'll be at 562 Shangalar Lane. It starts at 8 o'clock. If anyone would like to come and volunteer and see how that works and how we give that food away, we would be glad to have you. We hope that we will be granted this grant so that we can help with the food insecurities in our community. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Ms. Comfort. Does anyone have any questions? All right, if not, next is Heritage Alliance, Ms. Katie Comessis.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you for providing this opportunity to speak. And I'm sorry I can't see all of your faces, but it's good to be in front of you. I'm here representing Heritage Alliance, and we're very grateful, as always, for the support that the commission provides to our organization. For over 30 years, Heritage Alliance volunteers have fostered preservation and heritage efforts in Warren County. We are the successor to the Warren County Historical Society, for those who aren't familiar. Our goal is to preserve the best of the past for the future. And we operate a museum down East Main Street that houses over 10,000 items of historical significance to Warren County and to McMinnville. It's a historic building from 1908, and it needs special upkeep and attention. We're very grateful for that, having a place to store our historic items and to display them and share them with citizens and visitors as well. In addition to the museum, we hold lectures on history and heritage topics. We've developed videos capturing stories of Warren County history so that we can reach new audiences, primarily on social media. And we send out a quarterly newsletter to our members. Before the pandemic turned our worlds all upside down, we had started holding very successful, surprisingly successful. We didn't realize there was such a desire, need for photography classes. And we do that to honor the international impact of the Southern School of Photography, its legacy. And we intend on resuming those classes this year. Most recently, we have focused our efforts on refreshing our museum displays to feature Warren County musical history. In addition to the ever-present Dottie West display, we have beautiful displays on Uncle Dave Macon, Dinah Shore, and our beloved McMinnville Silver and Gold Band. This refresh aligns our museum with the state of Tennessee's tourism department's focus on musical heritage in every county. So we're glad to kind of align with that Tennessee Pathways theme that they have presented over the past few years. Now, with 3 museums on Main Street, our downtown is well positioned to become a cultural heritage destination, not only for our local citizens, but for visitors to our county. And it's well documented that cultural heritage tourists stay longer, they spend more when they're in a community. So we're excited to contribute to the county's tourism efforts in this, as you all continue moving that forward. In addition, we contribute because at the county fair, we have a cabin there. We always have a display every year on some topic of Warren County history. This year, as we will be seeking our usual request of $2,000, and it's for the upkeep of the building. We specifically use that money to pay for the utilities that allow us to keep the museum going and protect it and allow it to function. So that's who we are and what we'll be seeking, nothing new. But if there are any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Katie. Is there any questions for Ms. Kamisas? All right, if not, thank you again, Ms. Kamisas, and we will go to home delivery meals. Nancy Mayfield.
Okay, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak to you tonight. The Meals on Wheels program has been around for a while. We've been in operations for 44 years in Warren County. We're located down at 106 East End Drive in the housing community. And we serve meals to the elderly and the disabled, the homebound community of the elderly, the people who have dementia and live alone, hospice patients. And we focus on the elderly that's 60 or over, but our average age is 81. And we've had several clients that are at least 100. We do this. Well, actually, we serve 5 meals a week or 5 meals a day and 5 meals a week and some on the weekends. We do that at a cost of a little over $4 a meal, and that's like $1,100 a year to feed that person. We have volunteers. We have over 100 volunteers that come in through the week and help us deliver. We do not pay the volunteers. They use their own money and gas and time to support this program. They do one of the most important things for the program. They do that wellness visit every day that makes sure that client is healthy and they don't need anything. They also provide services like going to their mailbox and just anything that they need during the day. We are funded locally. We do not have any federal funds. So we depend on businesses and individuals, memorials, our clients, Warren County and the city of McMinnville, and we write grants to for our funding. We've had a really hard year this year because of COVID. The pandemic has caused us to lose a lot of volunteers that were that the volunteers actually were at risk themselves. They were older, retired people. And then once that happened, our costs soared for the food that we were serving. A lot of things we couldn't get. We were having to stay out of the home as much as we could to keep our clients safe. So we were having to prepackage meals during the COVID, and prepackaged meals are much more expensive than our meals that we cook from scratch. So we've been hit hard with food costs this year. Our donations were down because when a lot of our donations come from memorials, well, when the funeral homes shut down, then that caused our donations to almost stop from that direction. And then a lot of people lost their jobs and they just didn't have the resources to help us this year. Our major fundraiser, the Back to the Strip, had to be postponed. So we've just had a lot of problems getting through this. But through all of the problems that we've had, we've not missed a meal for any of our clients. We've still served those 200 clients per day, whether it was a hot meal, and we've gradually gotten back into the hot meals. We're going more often now than we were, but each person got a meal each day during the pandemic. We're asking for the county to support 12 of our clients, which is around $13,000 a year. We will use the money to fund serving our clients, continuing our program as we've always done. Are there any questions?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Mayfield. Are there any questions?
Hey, Blaine, this is Steve Glenn. I just want to say that Nancy does a good job on that Meals on Wheels. I really appreciate what she does. I've heard a lot of good reports on that.
Well, thank you. She's not a very good public speaker, but does a good job feeding people.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, is that Commissioner Tyrone Sparkman?
No, Commissioner Hillis.
Okay, Commissioner Hillis, sorry.
Ms. Mayfield.
Yes.
With all the struggles you've had because of COVID this year, has your request actually rose?
The request to the county?
Has your request?
For meals. Yes, we have had more requests. We have a referral list. We've tried to serve everyone on that referral list because people have been so desperate during this. We've had people with COVID and they call in and say, please don't stop our meals because I'm too sick to cook for myself. So we've added people that had COVID to get through this. Yes, so we have served more people because of it.
Well, I know you worked really hard to spend a lot of time with it, and I know a lot of people personally that have received your meals, and I thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Savage.
Also, the people that deliver the meals are also a point of contact. Sometimes that person might not have another visit. And lots of times they let a family know that there's something going on. If sometimes they may be missing from the house, like in dementia cases. And that really helps.
Thank you, Mr. Savage. That is true. Our volunteers really support the program and keep the clients safe.
Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you, Ms. Mayfield.
Commissioner Wiltshire. Chairman Wiltshire.
Yes, is this Commissioner Glenn? Yes, is this
No,
Commissioner
it's
Glenn?
Commissioner Gary Martin. Gary Martin.
All right.
I'd like to say
All right.
Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels does a great job, and you don't know really till you deliver them out there how great the job that they're doing out there. Do you see those people looking for you? They know what time you're supposed to be there and everything. They're watching, and like you say, a good meal and a good little conversation goes a long way for them. And Nancy has some good help out there too. She's got Tabitha Ruckers there, Taylor Flores, and Tanya Dennis there. And they all do a great job, and they're greatly appreciated by everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. If you don't know, Mr. Martin delivers for us every Friday, and he also delivers when we have a hard time finding a volunteer. So he's a sub, and we really appreciate him.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. We need to move on to the next
Okay.
group. That is case setters with Beverly Matthews.
Side, I think.
Oh, I don't know where that is.
Yeah, I think that's where they. This is Beverly. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to present tonight, and I'd like to thank you for your support over the past years. I'm Beverly Matthews. I'm the Executive Director of Pace Setters. Our agency is going to be 50 years old this year, so we've been around for a little while. One of our mission, our main goal is to support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to live in their own community with support. We do have residential homes that are located throughout the Upper Cumberland, some of which are in the Warren County area. And our other services are based on community participation, and in other words, trying to get our folks out. COVID has very much restricted our ability to get folks out the way that we typically do in a normal year. But for the fiscal year 21-22, we're working to gear back up, and hopefully with the vaccine, which many of our folks have received, they're going to be able to start getting back out into their own communities. Our funding source is a fee-for-service type funding through the Medicaid waiver 1915C for some individuals. We also receive funding through the managed care organizations for a few folks that we support through United Health, Blue Care, and Amerigroup. All of these services are in the community setting. They may be different services, but it is what we do is we just try to support that person to help them live a life that they cannot live independently without some support. Our goal also is to provide as much support as possible to help that person become independent as they can and want to be. As far as what are the reasons, I wanted to mention the Family Support Program. That's kind of a program that I'm not sure a lot of people know about, that we have oversight for. And Family Support provides services to children, very young babies up through adulthood with severe disabilities that live at home with family, or they may even live on their own. And that program actually serves about 26 people in the Warren County area. We provide services such as respite, home modifications, and medical copays, specialized equipment, and some transportation services as well to folks. That's akin to a payer of last resort when people don't receive services anywhere else. So we're real proud of that program also. One of the things that we do on a regular basis is we do a lot of traveling. We do have vehicles that are agency owned but are provided for our staff to drive. And those vehicles, we're with the reimbursement rates, that's not included in vehicle repair, maintenance, fuel costs, and those kinds of things are not included in anything that we can reimburse for. But we do take people to the doctor. If people work, we take them to work. If they're going out into the community to try to be part of their community, which is one of our goals, then we use those vehicles for that. Our costs are pretty high, as you can imagine. COVID, again, has impacted our ability in this past year to be able to do that efficiently as we have in years past. But we do, in a year that is COVID-free, which we're hoping to see this next year, we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 or 60,000 miles, and that's just in Warren County. So there's quite a bit of cost that's associated with that.
Mr. Chairman, I do apologize. We've reached our 4 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Stotts. Ms. Matthews, we've we need to allow some questions now, if that's okay.
Certainly.
Is there any questions for Ms. Matthews?
Yes, ma'am. I need this Commissioner Savage.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. A lot of the traveling reimbursements were not for what was those items. I'm doing the minutes.
Okay, the reimbursements that we're allowed to bill the state or any of service providers for, we are not permitted is fuel, maintenance of any kind to our vehicles, repairs, insurance, tags, etc.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Matthews?
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Stotts. May I speak?
Yes, Commissioner Stotts.
I just wanted to say that, Pacesetters is a wonderful organization. I had the opportunity to work for them part-time back around 2002. And they provide the opportunities that they provide for their clients is truly paramount, and trying to keep people involved in the community and live in their own home environment with their families through their personal assistant programs to their assisted living facilities. And so just they do a wonderful job, and I just wanted to speak on their behalf. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. If there's nothing else, I appreciate it, Ms. Matthews.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the next item on our agenda is any announcements?
You skipped over Citizens for Progress. I think Todd Herzog was supposed to present that tonight as well.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, you're correct. Go ahead, Mr. Herzog. Sorry about that.
No problem. Citizens of Progress started in July of 2007. And since that time, we've donated over $1 million in aid to the youth of our county. Interesting to note, you would think with the advent of Tennessee Promise and Tennessee Reconnect, our scholarship fund would diminish in use. It's gone exactly the other way. Last year was our busiest year since before Tennessee Promise. And for reasons I'll mention in a few moments, it's going to continue to grow. I mean, it is a very active in helping the youth of our county. Where does it help? It helps in dual enrollment at the high school, which continues to grow. And the reason it continues to grow, it's a good deal for the students. And that's number one. Number two, both TCAT and Motlow are giving more and more dual enrollment options at the high school each year. So there's more options for students to take advantage of. So that has grown. There's like 400 students taking dual enrollment. Put it another way, if you're going to high school, most of the students take one or more courses in the CTE wing, which involves dual enrollment. So it has gotten to be a very big part of the high school curriculum and agenda. We also work directly with Motlow and TCAT, not only in dual enrollment at the high school, but on their campuses as well. This is the first year we've had a aid package that reached out to the new Tennessee State program at Motlow, where Motlow students can get an associate's degree in mechatronics and take year 3 and year 4 on the Motlow campus using Tennessee State University faculty to get a 4-year bachelor's degree in industrial technology. We're offering students in year 3 and year 4 $500 a semester in aid or $1,000 a year, and all 11 of their first year or third year students this year are getting that aid. So we have $11,000 this year that are going to that benefit. And a new program we're going to start next August. The Business Roundtable helped TCAT get $1 million grant from the high school for a machine shop technology program. They asked us, would we, out of our scholarship fund, allow 10 selected sophomores starting next August to pay their tuition so they could get a year early jump on that program. And we have tentatively agreed to that. And we're actually going to meet tomorrow afternoon where we expect to finalize that. So our program keeps growing in terms of outreach and aid. And this past year, we had our second best year on fundraising. We're still in the middle of fundraising. In fact, Wednesday's paper will have our Business Roundtable article will be about the scholarship fund, and it will denote that we're in the middle of fundraising and would greatly appreciate any donations. We also had a high number of students between TCAT, Tennessee State, and Montlow. We reached out to a lot of kids this year, so it's making a big difference. The goal of Business Roundtable is to raise the educational level of Warren County, and it starts with our kids in our county, and that's what this program is all about. We appreciate the help you've given us, and this is a community-led effort, and we certainly would love to get it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herzog. Is there any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say something. Commissioner England.
Yes, Commissioner England.
Like I say something, Mr. Herzog, I do appreciate the Business Roundtable. This is a great thing. As you know, with our $1 million grant, we were able to get our machine shop started at the high school, which was basically for seniors and juniors. We had always wanted to get our sophomores involved, but it takes a little money and what have you. And with Todd and them stepping forward and helping pay the fees and what have you, this is going to be a great thing because industry is begging for a machinist. And the great thing about it is, as the time that they spend at the high school, the hours that they come in will shorten their time that they will be with me at the TCAT school. And this is a win-win for Warren County. And I want to thank Mr. Herzog for his efforts in pushing that forward.
Thank you.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Savage, go ahead.
From Mr. Herzog, I think this is mostly for non-traditional students, whereas the Tennessee Promises, it starts with the freshmen. Is that true?
Tennessee Promise is after high school. Tennessee Promise doesn't provide any funds for dual enrollment at the high school. So Tennessee Promise is for higher education after high school. This Citizens of Progress helps kids in high school take college classes. It helps to make sure that tuition is covered when they're in high school. And as Commissioner England just indicated, this really gives a kid a great chance to get a running start because they can accumulate college hours while they're in high school. That shortens the time they need to go to college or higher education after high school.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree with you.
Thank you again, Mr. Herzog, and I apologize for skipping over you on that. I printed this off and didn't wear my glasses. At this time, we would move on to the announcements if there are any.
Mr. Chairman, just got a couple. I just do want to say, Commissioner Ross, we're glad that she's come through her surgery and is able to participate in our commission meeting tonight. Also for April, we've got the technology now installed in the courtroom, and so we should be able to be back in person. If anybody needs to be on a hybrid plan or zoomed in either as a guest or as a commissioner, we should be able to host that next month. So that's been touch and go, but it should be able to be hosted on our end. Also, I've been sitting through several conference calls and webinars on future stimulus payments that might be made across the state of Tennessee from Washington as part of the American Recovery Act. And so I'll be getting you that information just as soon as it is available. There's still a lot of things to be worked out through the Treasury Department and through state oversight. So we'll be bringing that to you as soon as it's available.
Thank you. If there's no further announcements, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Taylor.
I'd like to make a motion and we adjourn, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Stotts.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Taylor that we adjourn, a second from Commissioner Stotts. Anyone want to speak to that motion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good evening.